how big is this moment for you? I know a lot of people are talking the reference, the first female chair for NPGA. How big, how special of a moment is this for
It
you?
is, well, it is, it will be great when that sort of the first for anything that a woman does goes away.
Mhm.
And I've had people say, "Oh, Michelle, we don't think of you as a woman anyway. You're just Michelle." So I'm always like, I don't quite know how to take that, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. Um, and I, it is very impactful for me. I think it is impactful, and I've sort of talked about this and other things. I think when women see other women do things, women are very visual generally, and I'm speaking in huge generalities right now, but I think when you walk up and you walk by a room and you see four men at a table, you're like, well, they don't look like me. And do I really fit in? And is this right for me? But when you walk by and you see more people that look like you or in similar positions with you, it makes people just feel more comfortable.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping that other women are going to walk by and say, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And I think the other thing that we've talked a lot about MPGA is it is a big time commitment. And if you have smaller children at home, you're still doing your day job.
Mhm.
So my boss still very much expects me to do my work for AmeriGas, but at the same time, sort of do this. And so figuring out how to balance the MPGA work, the AmeriGas work and our family work, which is all real important, that's the thing I'm sort of going through right now. So
Right.
again, the last couple of years have been really helpful, but now I'm seeing it. So we're very excited. I'm very excited, but I will tell you, my children are like, "Oh, great, mom!" Like they just don't quite see the big deal of it.
Maybe to follow up on that, do you plan then to make all the trips, I guess, the travel around the country, different associations in person?
I am.
Yeah.
So we obviously have made some family decisions, which I'm sure every chairman goes through, or any person really who travels a lot for work makes those decisions about what has to work for your family. So it is a great opportunity to travel the country and again see like what goes on day to day. I think there's always a conversation that you can get sort of insulated in Washington D.C., but like really, what's the bread and butter? What's the table stakes? What are people talking about? What do people need? And building the relationships. This is where that happens.
Yeah, I just got off a call, a women in propane advisory committee call, and Stuart Weed had made a similar comment that he thought he knew everybody in the industry until he started going to these, state and regional meetings, and then realized there's a lot of people he doesn't know.
Doesn't know. And I'm really just looking forward to hearing what people have to say. It's really one where I'm hoping people are. I'm like, I hope I actually don't talk that much. It's really just I want to hear what else is going on so I can bring that information back because I think there is so much more, whether it's California or New York or Tennessee or New Hampshire. I think we're all facing such similar things, maybe in just different ways. And being a conduit for that conversation, I'm excited to hear what people have to say.
As you make these trips and travels, what is your message to the industry that you probably thought about, in recent weeks and
Yeah,
months?
I think the thing is probably the number one thing, and which is not going to be a surprise because it is my background. It's sort of where I started is advocacy. It is telling our story. And what I've seen, because the stakes are different now. Even from when I started 5 or 6 years ago, the Electrify Everything movement, like they have just dominated the national conversation. And it was one thing for us to say propane is a clean burning fuel. And everyone can pretty much say that. But now you almost need a PhD in chemical, and in chemistry to talk about why propane is a part of the national energy conversation. And I think not only are people, struggling to run their business and stay up to speed on safety and regulations, but now you have to speak environmental speak to tell your story. And so that landscape has changed and getting people one just to tell their story, but then probably being a little uncomfortable having that sort of environmental bent to the story as well. Getting that message out, I think, is one of the big topics I would like to use this year for. The other thing I've noticed is just talking to people about volunteering. is we really need to hear from like all levels of the industry. And coming out of Nashville, which I thought was such a huge success, I can't tell you the number of people who walked up to me, all ages, different positions in the industry, and said, what can we do to help? How can we engage? And so really having a good answer for here's the number of things that you could do. So making sure we explain exactly how you can engage, because I think the industry, particularly the younger people in the industry, are asking, which is great, which ties right back into that advocacy message.
It seemed like, a couple of the speeches I've heard you make, male or female, seems like you're really about, pushing people to get involved, raise their hand, ask questions. I imagine that's going to be a big part of your message as well.
Yes, I think it is, because one of the other things is the industry in some ways is getting bigger. Again, it used to be residential bulk heat is great. Then you start, and then you look at, well, then the industry went to barbecue grill cylinders. And then the industry looked at auto gas. And now the industry is looking at renewables and DME. So you're just seeing this continuum. And so there's just more and more room within the industry. So we need more and more people talking about what their business does and what their viewpoint is for the future. And so whether you're the delivery rep having conversations with the customer, or the CSR, or now the IT person who's building out the digital platforms that is changing the way, in some ways, the way the propane industry can operate, to our vendors, and like everyone's experience is really important right now when we're telling legislators and school boards what role propane has in that energy conversation, because we've seen how successful the electric movement has been, but we know they're not getting all the facts. And it's really our job now to just tell our story, tell our facts with all of the inclusion that we can. But that's where I think it's that nice tie between saying, great, you raised your hand, now let us tell you what you can do with that. And that's what I hope to continue to talk about.